Double-header weekend once again in the IPL as the Gujarat Titans and the Royal Challengers Bangalore are set to face each other for the first time in the history of the tournament. The Titans, they can do no wrong. They will be eyeing an 8th win, a 5th successive win up against them. An RCB side that started so well, 5 wins out of 7. That's been deflated a bit by the disappointment of not chasing 145 against Rajasthan last game. And before that, you could say the embarrassment of a 68 all-out against the Sunrisers. That was at the Brabourne Stadium, where we are again for the Royal Challengers Bangalore and the Titans, who Hardik Pandya seems to be quite proud of himself, even though he's losing tosses. And he is happy to chase. Faf du Plessis has broken the trend, so there's plenty to discuss on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by IQ 9 5G. Dan Vettori loves an afternoon game. So too does Ben Cutting. We've put this pair together again to help them evolve in their relationship and their association. We've got a long day today with each other. Can I expect the two of you to behave?
I will try.
Ben?
Mate, it's Saturday night. I've got dressed up for this one. I haven't put pants on tonight.
All right. We will talk cricket for a little while at least on the show. Faf du Plessis won the toss and is going to bat first. So much conversation around Virat Kohli already. Faf saying that afternoon games, the heat is a factor, and he says he's going to break a trend. Indeed, he has. The only other person to do that has been Hardik Pandya earlier in the tournament. But what do you make of RCB's decision to bat first?
I think it's probably on the back of Hardik Pandya's decision in the last game and how well they played and how well they defended it. So that'll be a factor. They'll also assess the surface. I think it won't just be down to that decision that Hardik made. It'll be about the surface, seeing what it'll play like, and then the expectation around a good first inning score, which will probably be around the 160, 165. Then hope they can hand over to that very good RCB bowling attack.
This heat factor that he talks about, genuine issue?
I do believe it is, particularly in these afternoon games. It's always a talking point when you play at Wankhede. Normally it's once a season, so you gear up for that once a season afternoon game. I know RCB had a lot of afternoon games against there, and the likes of AB and Virat would often campaign to bat first because of that, and they tend to have success as well, where the opposite, Mumbai just wore you down the other way around. So I think it would have been built on those experiences of the fact that those one-off games once a season at Wankhede, bit different this time around when every game's in Mumbai.
Yeah, sure. This is of course at the CCI, just across the road from the Wankhede, but we are into the last week of April, so it is getting hot. It's a batting side, Ben, that surely would be feeling underconfident. 68 all out, followed by a failure to chase 145. What would you feel better doing after 2 batting efforts like that? Would you rather know a score, know your approach? Would you rather bat first? Last time they batted first was that Sunrisers game where they got bundled out.
I think on the back of their last 2 games, 115 all out, 68 all out, that's 20 wickets for not a lot of runs. It's not really the team that wants to be put under pressure when they're chasing if their batting is a problem. So I'm not surprised they batted first because a lot of the teams there have opted to, they think about the dew when it comes to the toss, but being a day game, there's not going to be any of that.
I mean, I don't think Faf would have said this at the toss, but the Titans like to bat first too, right? That's where Hardik Pandya broke the trend, the first captain to do so. But now suddenly there's almost this invincibility about them, or at least this idea that other franchises have that Gujarat are a team to just find ways to win. That game was mental last time against the Sunrisers, so they can chase now as well.
Well, I think Gujarat are hoping for an easy win. I think if you actually dissect all their wins, like Dave Miller said a few games ago, they felt like they could have lost a number of games, and that's the sign of a very good team, but it's also a sign of a team that's aware of themselves, that they know they're not comfortable with how they're playing. They actually need to get a bit better in some departments. So I think that's what they'll be searching for. They'll be searching for that comfortable win. The bowling effort first up will decide whether it can be that comfortable win or not.
All right. RCB have made a change though, which Faf du Plessis remembers just at the last moment. In fact, I think Hardik had to remind him. But Rajat Patidar gets just the one game. He had come in for Anuj Rawat to allow Virat Kohli to go at the top of the order and open. But they've given a game to Mahipal Lomror, who gives them a left-hand hard-hitting option, also gives them some left-arm spin should they need it. Very much like what Shahbaz Ahmed's role in the team is. It'll be interesting to see if he indeed does bat at 3. And Faf du Plessis saying it's there to counter the leg spin of Rashid Khan. We saw what left-handers did last time, Ben. Abhishek Sharma seemed to take a liking to Rashid Khan. Mahipal Lomror, what do you make of that tactical call?
Look, left hand or right hand, I think there's been a general consensus is that most batters are trying to take down Rashid Khan this year, and they're sort of getting away with it, a game here and there because of the smaller boundaries. I don't think it really matters for Rashid if it's left or right hand because he can spin the ball both ways, on a string.
Okay, we're just going to confirm if Lomro has indeed taken Patidar's place. We'll just come back to that in a second. Gujarat Titans have a couple of changes though. And Yash Dayal, who's been so impressive. We didn't speak much about him in the madness of the last game, Dan, but he seems to have a bit of a niggle. So they've gone like for like as Pradeep Sangwan is back in an IPL, in a different IPL side in 2022. You remember Pradeep Sangwan, don't you?
It's been around forever. Played with him at Delhi in the first ever IPL. So it's impressive that he's still going. He was obviously a young man back then, but he offers similar to what Dayal offered as well, that left arm seam. They'll hope he can swing it a little bit up front. Whether they look at him at the death will be a different matter, but I think it's been a tournament for left armers probably once again, and left armers have been a little bit left behind in some of our conversation. Motion Khan was impressive last night. Mustafiza was amazing for Delhi. Sakaira was amazing as well. So there's been a lot of left arm performances, and I assume they'll expect the same from Sangwan.
Yeah, we've spoken of Arshdeep too. Natarajan's back to his best. Lots of left arm chat. That's been taking the headlines for the last few days. We watched the Indian left-armers make an impact as well as the likes of Mustafizur Rahman. Second change is Abhinav Manohar misses out and Sai Sudarshan comes in. So there is a left-hand option there for the Gujarat Titans too. I wonder if that has anything to do with the opposition, because that's three left-handers back-to-back then in Sudarshan, Miller and Rahul Tewatia. Just something different?
Probably, maybe a left-hander to counter Hasaranga and Shabazz Ahmed, but RCB will turn to Maxwell straight away. I think they trust him as an off-spin bowler, and Maxwell's in the vein, not obviously as good as Krunal Pandya, where he feels comfortable bowling to right and left-handers. So RCB do have an incredibly balanced bowling lineup, which is probably why we've been a little bit disappointed with the last couple of performances, because they've bowled so well. It's been the batting that's let them down.
Yeah, my pal Lomro, in fact, is coming for Suyash Prabhudesai. So Patidar keeps his place, and that's the change that has been made, which keeps two left-hand options in that middle order for RCB. Prabhu Desai had a good couple of games. Seems to, again, be a tactical call, as Faf du Plessis has said. Is there a genuine concern about Rashid Khan to left-handers after one game? I mean, we see our teams playing differently now.
No, but I mean, what it does, it just shows that it can be done. But what I believe will happen is Rashid Khan will just get better, because I can't think of how often he's had a couple of bad games in a row. So I think we'll straight away see an improvement from him, and I think it will mainly be around his length. I think he just got too full to Abhishek Sharma, and that's not like him. So if he can pull that length back, then left-hand is going to be in trouble again.
I just wonder if an uncapped Indian batter taking down Rashid Khan has a different sort of impact, Ben, because we know the likes of Gale has done it, Suresh Raina has done it. They're seasoned T20 stars. Suddenly there's an Abhishek Sharma that does it, and next game RCB brought in an extra uncapped Indian left-hand bat, and maybe there'll be a different approach to Rashid Khan. Can we expect that?
No, I think teams are going to still try and be positive against him and try and take him down. The thing for Rashid, and Dan hit the nail on the head with his length. Rashid is so much more effective when most of his balls are sort of hitting around the top of the stumps, and with his subtle variations each way, when you can't pick it, it's very tough to play. But the guys that have had success against him are guys that have played cross-bat shots, sweeping, hard sweeping, slog sweeps, particularly from the left-hander variety. So it'll be interesting to see if that's the tactic they employ with that.
I'm interested to know if there is a drill on how you prepare for Rashid Khan. If he doesn't bowl much in the nets. But Ben, is there anything that bowling coaches, tacticians, any sort of tricks that they do to try and get you better prepared to play someone like Rashid?
When we come up against him, we sort of talk about playing him predominantly off the back foot and playing for the ball that is always coming back in. Because if he beats you on the outside of the bat, well bowled. He's bowled it well. So he's always looking to hit you on the pad, bring the stumps into play. If he can leave you and it spins considerably, well bowled. You're too good.
Does anyone come up with a bowling machine that sort of fires it like that really quickly?
You need a little medium pace to just run in at 120 and dart them back in. No, it's incredibly difficult. I think the planning comes from conversations with other batsmen who have played him a lot. I think of hearing Kane Williamson talk about him to other batsmen and say, this is what you'd expect. These are some of the ways to counter him. Now you formulate your own game plan from there.
What is Rashid's reaction though now? I mean, now that we know the player that he is, champion that he is, he wouldn't mind players taking him on. I know at times he's been frustrated that he's not been in the purple cap race because batters tend to see him out. He wouldn't mind this?
No, not at all. I think, as I said, the improvement will come from him, and it will come pretty quickly. And also the fact that he had a poor bowling day but picked it up with the bat, and that's a sign of a true all-rounder and a guy who obviously cares deeply about the team. So I think part of that caring will be around working on his performance and working on his lengths and understanding how he can be better in this situation.
Rashid Khan might take a bit of offence if we are going to spend so much time on his bowling when he has shown that he should be entering these auctions. He never has, ever since the first one. But if he ever chooses to again, as an all-rounder perhaps, because this is what he's done in the last few games. He's managed to turn the game around against the Chennai Super Kings, got that 40 of 21, including that key over against Chris Jordan that turned the tide. David Miller eventually saw the job done. And against Hyderabad, that was incredible. 2 sixes to finish off against Marco Janssen, who's been in some terrific form, player of the match against RCB just the game before. So these little cameos, effectively, Rashid Khan's got them 3 or 4 points with bat himself. So this is not just Rashid Khan, the dangerous leg spinner in the IPL. It's Rashid Khan, the batter. He's got a peculiar way of batting, though, doesn't he? We actually put Akash Chopra where he is most comfortable, in the demo zone, and he tried to break down what makes Rashid's unique style of power hitting effective.
Rashid Karamati Khan, of course I call him Karamati because he's phenomenal with the ball, but we're not going to talk about his bowling, we're going to talk about his batting, because what he's doing with the bat is absolutely phenomenal. There are a few fundamentals of hitting the long ball, and you'd see that with a lot of finishers. In fact, all of them. You look at Dhoni, you look at Andre Russell, you look at Kieron Pollard, you need a high backlift, then a beautiful downswing, and the bat goes here. Now this is how you hit the long ball, those long sixes, but Rashid has no backlift at all. His bat doesn't even go higher than this. He just keeps it here, and if it's here, it's not going to go here any which way, because the higher the backlift, the longer and the stronger the downswing, and therefore the finish. That flourish is not there. He goes like this. Now, there are 2 or 3 factors here, I feel. One, of course, he's got these wonderful arms where he's able to generate that power. Second, the bat speed is phenomenal. How he does that, I've got no clue, because it is exceptional what he's been able to do. What reminds me when I see him is tape ball cricket. Go and watch some videos. You'll find that these batters, they do not have any backlift. They stand like this and they go like this, and the ball actually travels the distance. So when I see Rashid Khan, there are 3 things that stand out. His bat speed, how he generates, I've got no clue. He does that. He's got some strong arms because he's able to create that power. And third, he's just taking the tape ball cricket fundamentals into real leather ball cricket. And that is making him absolutely exceptional, because what he is doing, it's only him can do it.
All right. Very interesting from Akash Chopra. I wonder what your reaction to that sort of analysis is. It seems like guy who can clear the boundary without the traditional high backlift.
Little punch four-iron, I think, if I use a golf analogy. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to see where he gets that strength from. He didn't start like this. I can think back when he first started batting in the IPL, he had a longer swing, and it feels like he's copied Dhoni in a way, tried to utilise that sort of, he went through that helicopter stage in his follow-through. He's given up a little bit of this, but it feels like he wants to get into a position where bowlers are going to bowl full to him, and therefore he can capitalise on that Yorker. So it feels like it's a backswing to capitalise on full balls, because when I find when bowlers bowl length to him, he actually gets himself in a little bit more trouble. And the other thing about Rashid Khan's batting, and this is just anecdotal, is that it feels like in a chase he's even better. I can't feel of him in first innings putting on the score, but it seems when the game's in front of him, understanding what he needs to do, and part of a match-winning chase, he seems to relish that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say, though, that even if he says he's modelled it on Dhoni, don't you remember Dhoni having a non-backlift almost like Rashid? He's always had that sort of backlift that comes from somewhere. I mean, the bat speed's been good. That's where I can see the correlation. But Dhoni's not ever sort of taken it with zero backlift.
No, it seemed a refined version of Dhoni. I mean, Dhoni he had that stop almost when he contacted the ball, when he was in contact with the ball, and that's what Rashid Khan looks like as well. But back to that point, it feels like he's all set up for challenging the Yorker.
Yeah. I wonder if it's fair to say, Ben, I haven't watched as much of the Big Bash as, of course, you might have followed and played in, that it was the Big Bash that sort of really brought to prominence some of Rashid Khan's batting ability. The IPL hadn't seen as much of it. Did the Bash in some ways help Rashid Khan become this sort of batter?
Oh, without a doubt. But he does bat very differently over in Australia as well, because there is that bounce on the wicket. big square boundaries and short straight. So guys tend to stay away from those full length deliveries that he's been setting up for over in India, and tend to come a little bit more hard length, through here and a change of pace out wide, because it is easier to get away with those lengths over here with the bigger boundaries. But I think it's come to the fore for his batting over the last couple of years because he's been able to put some performances on the board here in Australia, beautiful batting wickets, and he's also getting more time in the middle, and it's always just before the IPL. So he gets plenty of time in the nets. He comes here every year, gets balls under his belt, so he's in great form when he arrives over there.
This thing that Akash speaks about on arm strength. Now, we've seen a lot of guys that look tougher, stronger. Do you think if a Pollard or a Russell take that same batting technique, would they be also able to clear it the way Rashid Khan does? Or is there something unique about Rashid Khan just physically? We also know he has a unique style of bowling. I wonder if that's in play too. The fact that there's a lot more happening here for Rashid Khan than most other cricketers, Ben?
Oh, without it. He's obviously got very, very strong wrists, and they're fast wrists at that, whereas the Pollards, the Russells, they're more of a brute force. Even if they mishit it, it's still going to go. But they need that big backlift, and that's part of their imposing figure when you're running into bowl at them. Whereas Rashid, like Dan said, if you're up in the hole and trying to get that Yorker in, you're in big trouble, particularly if you go wide to him, because he doesn't have that backlift. He doesn't need to catch up with the ball. He's already on it, no matter how quick you bowl. Whereas Dre, Russ, Polly, their bats are all so heavy as well, and they're big boys. It's tough to move muscle fast. Whereas Rashid's skinnier, he's whippier. He can do that a lot quicker.
Do you see a correlation between the strength of his wrists when he's bowling to that helping this sort of batting?
I'm guessing, but it feels like the right answer. It feels like the way that he bowls, because he has so much ability to impart spin on it from little wrist movement. It means how strong they are, and that must play a factor as well. Because I think if we all went out the back and tried to replicate those shots, we'd probably have sore wrists after a little while. Yeah. So for him to do it time and time again in the nets, to build up that strength, there has to be something to that.
Light bat, surely?
We'll get some info on that. Sure, I'll text some Gujarat players and find out. I don't know if he has a light bat.
But surely you think that a heavy bat.
No one has light bats these days.
No one has light bats.
No one has light bats these days.
All right. And like you've already pointed out, bowlers perhaps are just a bit clueless when they see something so unique. They're trying to still hit their Yorkers. They're better off bowling length?
I believe so. I think Ben touched on it then around using the short ball, using the wide slow ball and length ball. And I think the few times that Marco Jensen got it right to him was through length. As soon as he went full, that's when he got into Rashid Khan's wheelhouse.
Any takers for spin to Rashid Khan, perhaps, to try and stop that? Or is he going to have the answer to spin?
He never gets to face spin. I can't even think of him facing spin. He's always coming at the end. So as he evolves, he's going to bat 7, probably more and more for Gujarat. He may have more opportunities to spin. I think he'll be aggressive when we see him against spin.
All right. Well, that's for Rashid Khan. Now, Gujarat are bowling first. And perhaps we haven't spent as much time on Mohammad Shami as we have on Rashid Khan, the bowler, Lockie Ferguson, the bowler, because Shami has done what Shami does, right? From one franchise to another, continues to be this wicket-taking force. If you look at the most wickets in the power play, he's right up there, ahead of Umesh Yadav, ahead of Lockie Ferguson in the same side. He's going at 6.6. Ben, just wonder if Shami almost flies under the radar at times, but he has this knack of producing some fine wicket-taking deliveries, doesn't he?
He does, yeah, particularly up there in the power play, like you said. He just does enough with the new ball. He's slippery enough. He's quite tough to pick up when you're facing too, because he's a little bit shorter in stature, so it changes where you're picking up his length. But he's just got that seam perfectly bolted upright and has the tendency to go either way with it with great control. So that's always tough when you're batting up the top of the order. So
you do remember facing Mohammad Shami, don't you?
Yeah, I think I got him, but that was batting at the death. Very different kettle of fish to facing him with a new ball.
He remembers the guys he hit.
Yeah. The backstory to anyone missing this yesterday was Ben trying to remember if he's faced Arshdeep or not, in fairness, and Dan giving him a lot of grief for it. So that's on him. But yeah, I mean, Shami, I wonder if he's spoken of in the same breath as we speak of Bumrah, because Bumrah's obviously perhaps in a league. But Shami's numbers, wicket-taking numbers have been terrific. We don't quite speak of him as a certainty in the India T20 World Cup 11 as much as we do say about Bumrah. Is that unfair?
Possibly. I think it's been a general improvement over the last 3 or 4 years in all facets of his game. I think Test bowler, one-day bowler, T20 bowler. There was a time where they tried to pigeonhole him just as a Test bowler, but I think through his improved fitness and his improved skill that he can be an exceptional bowler in any format. And I think what he simply does is he bowls Test match lengths. in the power play, and he challenges a lot of very good batsmen, a lot of batsmen who are used to getting a little bit of width. He never gives width. He hits those areas that Ben talks about, and because his seam position is so amazing, he just does enough with it. So he's the bowler that's asking questions of the batsman all the time. There's no freebies, there's no let off. He just bowls good balls time and time again. And good balls can go for 4 occasionally, but he still asks questions the whole time.
Yeah, I guess one thing we know about Shami is his wicket-taking ability has always been, looked at white ball cricket. Strike rate's been terrific from the start of his career till now. But you look at phases, and you tend to think Shami seems to really have an impact with the new ball, but does he go for too many at the end? Now, Ben, you remember playing him at the death. Do we see an improved death bowler in Mohammad Shami this year? Funny enough, those 4 overs in the middle seem to go the distance more. It's a small sample size. Obviously, huge impact in the power play. But is he improving as a death bowler for you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's always been a good death bowler. I mean, anyone on their day, I've seen him nail his Yorkers. He's got his nice change of pace as well. And he uses the the dimensions, to his advantage whenever he plays and wherever he plays. So I just saw the boundary dimensions today. There's some big ones and there's some very small pockets there. So it'll be interesting to see how he takes that into account and what deliveries he wants to go to bowling at the death.
What about Lockie Ferguson, right? Because we've talked about he's had a huge imprint already on the Titans. Big money signing for them. That wicket of Joss Butler stands out. And he has had wickets, key wickets. Got Rishabh Pant in a crucial moment in a chase when the Delhi Capitals looked good to chase down the Titans score earlier in the season. But he's going at nearly 11 at the death. Long time that KKR used him specifically for those middle overs. Didn't bowl him in the power play. Seems to be bowling a little more, but essentially again, middle to death. Ferguson as a death bowler?
Yeah, I think they're asking a lot of him. I will say one thing, it must be opposition's full of dread having to come up against this Gujarat team because they've got Elzari Joseph as well. So there's a lot of pace there.
Yeah.
And I think Lockie Ferguson has contributed in the way that you would expect in terms of his good performances, and probably his bad ones have just got away on him a little bit. I think to the last game where he got hit for 2 or 3 sixes in the last over. And that's not him. He doesn't often get hit for sixes. He can get splayed for 4 or misses length a little bit, but I think it's the tidying up of the 6 hitting, and that's quite unusual for him. And maybe he's looking to be a little bit too aggressive using that back of the hand or that cutter slow ball that he has, whereas he can just blow teams away with pace and look to execute more at that back end.
All right. Well, challenge for RCB batting first is to come up with the answers against this informed, strong Gujarat bowling lineup. Who's missing Yash Dayal, though, unfortunately, after his best game, bowled really well in that last one against the Sunrisers, just conceded 24 after going at over 10, but getting wickets in his first 2 games. So Pradeep Sangwan's going to have a job to do to try and fill those holes. Shahbaz Ahmed's been in good batting form. Now, will he be getting a promotion to bat 3? Will Lomror stay down? What's that batting order looking like for you in the absence of Patidar, in the absence of Prabhu Desai? So Patidar stays at 3, beg your pardon, I forgot that it's Prabhu Desai. So Patidar stays 3, Maxwell 4, or is that depending on the situation?
Well, it felt like Faf let it slip a little bit, where they wanted the left-hander to counter Rashid Khan and even Tawadia if he bowls, but I can't see Maxwell moving from his position at number 4. If anything, I'd see Maxwell earlier in the innings and then have those left-handers through the middle stages. And we also know that Maxwell's such a fine player of spin. So only change for me would be Maxwell going up. Okay,
now Dan Vettori's mentioned earlier, after that last Virat Kohli failure, all-out attack could be the way to go. He's walked out now with Faf du Plessis. Let's get a comment on that. We saved a few minutes for Virat Kohli. Don't think you'll get a 30-minute show without a minute spent on Virat Kohli, surely. So, all-out attack. Does that still hold good today? Afternoon game, batting first. Would you like him to just take his time?
I don't know what more we can say. I think we've covered all sort of 360 degrees. Everyone has around his performance, and I believe that he's at his best when he's aggressive. He's got some pace to counter here, so that being aggressive to that may even be even more of a factor. So he can slightly shimmy away from his stumps and carve these fast bowlers through the offside. I think that's the real strength of his. But this could be the bowling lineup that brings the best out of him.
Okay, Ben, thoughts on Kohli's approach today? Looks like that tentative sort of trying to get his innings going with one gear at a time is not working. Would you agree with that? Just go and whack it?
Yeah, just go and whack it, but smart whacking. Smart cricket shots, because you still don't need to be agricultural or ugly or go too hard in the power play, because with pace on the ball that he's about to face here, he doesn't need to go. He just needs to play good cricket shots, but confident cricket shots. Still can hit the ball on the ground, 2 fielders out, and you'll get value for runs, particularly at CCI.
Give me a prediction, Ben. What's Kohli going to get and what's RCB going to get?
I think Kohli will get 30, but I think RCB are they're a slippery banana for Gujarat. I think they're going to dust them. They'll probably get too many runs to start with. I think 170.
170. Dan?
I think they'll smart whack it their way to 163.
You just don't want to. You don't want to give him a moment, do you? Poor Ben Cutting.
Smart whack it. I'm going to use that. Smart whacking.
Yeah.
Smart
All right. Yeah.
Not
Okay.
dumb whacker, smart whacker.
What do you say Kohli's going to get?
I forgot about that. I'll say he'll get 42.
Oh, I'll take 42 for Virat Kohli right now. Let's see if RCB get the score. Let's hope Virat Kohli gets it. Right? Let's see. We want to see him in slightly better form than what we've seen so far. Thank you to Dan Vettori and Ben Cutting as well. More from them at halftime on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time, powered by Eco 95G.